Hi, and welcome to another episode of Piano TV. So today is a musical analysis video, and we are going to analyze Chopin's extremely famous Opus 9 No. 2 Nocturne. This analysis was a request, so if you have any, famous songs or not so famous, whatever, that you want me to analyze and talk about, leave it in the comments below. In today's video, we are going to talk about the history of this nocturne. We're going to talk about its use in pop culture, and of course, we are going to do a full analysis by listening to examples and talking about it and stuff like that, and maybe, spending a bit of time trying to figure out why exactly this song is so famous. I like doing these videos so that even if you don't know anything about classical music, you're kind of just like the random layperson, I hope you will still be able to understand this. I try to do these so not only, music snobs get something from it. So let's get started. Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, Opus 9, No. 2, was composed somewhere between 1830 and 1832 when Chopin was a young'un around 20 years old. He dedicated the set of 3 nocturnes in the Opus 9, there was 3 of them, we're only going to talk about No. 2 though. He dedicated them to Maria Pleyel, who was the wife of one of Chopin's acquaintances. It's not like it was a funny business dedication, like he had a secret love for her or anything. He was a nice guy. He dedicated a lot of his songs to piano students. It's not weird. So before we get into all the crazy details, I want to show you just a really quick clip of this tune so you can get it in your head, and then we're kind of on the same page when we're talking about it. Okay? Okay. This nocturne has made its way into many movies and TV shows. There's a huge list, but some highlights are The 5-Year Engagement, Bones, Dexter, Mad Men, Hannibal the series, and The Simpsons. And a lot of the times when you hear this in a TV show or movie, it's playing in the background while a character's reminiscing or having deep thoughts. The band Muse also uses this nocturne as an outro for their song The United States of Eurasia. They they add some strings and sound effects and stuff like that. So when it's played at its absolute best, this song just radiates a cool detachment. It's crisp, it's clear, and I'm gonna make a crude analogy here, but it's like your really, really cool world traveler friend who just always has really interesting, they always inspire you and give you a fresh perspective on life. But sometimes performances of this song can be sloppy and overly sentimental, like that drunk friend who's pouring out their heart to you, and they're trying to be all deep and meaningful, and they just keep saying I love you over and over, and it's just it's interesting to me how the same song can sound completely different and have a completely different vibe depending on how it's performed. And a lot of people are tempted to play Chopin with this kind of pouring out your heart style of playing, very emotive. And it's not that you shouldn't do that, because you do you with music ultimately at the end of the day. It's personal expression. But I think Chopin sounds best with quiet reservation. Chopin wasn't the kind of guy to throw it all out on the table. He holds back, and I want you to listen for that when we start listening to examples. Start noticing the subtleties and the way in which he could be more dramatic, but he doesn't. He holds back a little. Someone online said this when I was reading, I forget who, but it's great. He basically said Chopin was a master at reaching the fine line separating drama and melodrama. So first of all, we're going to talk about this nocturne song form, basically the overarching structure of the whole piece, and then we're going to go in and listen to some examples of the different parts. So this piece is a slightly more elaborate version of a rounded binary form, which is just ABA. It's a 2-part form that kind of goes back and repeats a section. So the A section is representing one part of the song that's pretty similar, and then the B section is a contrasting idea, and then the coda just means ending. Now that doesn't mean that all 4 of these A sections are identical, because actually they become more ornamented and elaborate with each passage, and same goes for the B section. So you'll be listening to that when we hear some of the examples, how the A section evolves. As far as the mood of the piece goes, it's pretty tender and reflective, basically right up until the coda, when all of a sudden there's a passionate burst of octaves, and there's a brief fortissimo, and then everything kind of calms down really quickly. It's almost over as soon as it begins. Chopin in this piece doesn't linger with the climax, which shows us again that he was a huge believer in the whole concept of less is more. We've already listened to the opening measures of this nocturne, which is the A section. The first time we hear this melody, it's this version that you see on the screen here. It's very bare bones, it's very unembellished. In future repetitions, the melody becomes increasingly chromatic, and these chromatic notes add a feeling of anticipation, like Chopin's like reaching for something. So let's take a listen to this part right here, the second A section, which occurs immediately after the first A section. The chromatic tune that you keep hearing over and over in the A section really tugs at the listener. There's this melancholic thread that runs through the entire piece, but instead of sounding kind of like lethargic as melancholic songs can sometimes do, it really pulls us in and it really creates suspense. So how these chromatic notes are creating suspense for us is they're literally suspended notes. So you can see that there's these like groups of 2 notes over and over in this chromatic section. The first one is the suspense note, and the second one is like the relief notes. You have suspension, relief, suspension, relief, suspension, relief, all over the place in this song, especially in the chromatic sections, and that just makes us like feel tense without like specifically thinking about how we're feeling tense. So the third time this A section comes around, the main change and embellishment is this sort of descending waterfall of notes over here. Suddenly there's just a lot more notes, and the whole section is a little bit more forceful too, with the forte and everything, but it's just not too forceful, right? Remember, like, Chopin keeps things a little bit subdued, but this is by far like the most motion the A section has had so far. The fourth and final time we hear the A section, it's virtually identical as the previous time, save for this little end pattern here, which, you know, it's the descending waterfall-y part. This time there's this prolonged set of shorter staccato notes, and then out of nowhere there's this sudden burst of 30-second notes. One thing that's fun about this nocturne is how symmetrical it is. The entire piece is built on 4-bar phrases, 4 measures. The A section is 4 measures, the B section is 4 measures, so on, etc. for the whole piece, all the way until you get to the coda, where things are a little bit more free-form and it doesn't follow quite in that 4-measure pattern anymore. Not only that, but Chopin uses proper cadences to end his phrases, which would be like V to I or 5-to-1 cadences, which is the perfect cadence, and it gives us that very satisfying end feeling. Kind of like when you reach the end of a paragraph in a book. If you think about this from the vantage point of pop music, it's like how common it is for verses or choruses to be written in sets of 4. Like maybe there's 4 chords that repeat forever, or the lyrics for the chorus are 4 lines. Once you start looking, you'll notice so many songs written with this pattern of 4s. And Chopin was a rule breaker. We all agree there. But sometimes he broke the rules by staying within them. And he kind of like reimagined what could happen within the rules. So in the A sections, he's writing sort of conventionally. He's got 4-bar phrases that end in a perfect cadence. He takes this tried and true song structure and makes it entirely his own with just little tweaks. If Chopin plays by the rules in the A section, the B section is where he really lets his hair down. Not in the way you might expect, though. It doesn't sound really crazy in this part. It actually sounds really simple and really elegant. But Chopin goes on a big modulation journey here. Now, in modulation, all that means is it's where the sound of the home bass key shifts. Since this song is in the key of E flat major, E flat is like the home bass sound. And throughout the B section, he's like constantly shifting what the home bass sound is. We go on this fun journey that takes us to the key of C minor, with a perfect cadence, and then we go to the key of B flat major with another perfect cadence here, and then we have this really exciting chromatic journey in this little end part here. All of the notes are headed downward in a small chromatic step motion. Chromatic just means they're going down in tiny little half steps. And this, you can see kind of like all the notes here are like sort of headed downward until we get to the last two notes when we wind up on that very last chord, a B flat 7, which is the perfect lead-in to take us back into the A section, because the A section is written in E flat. So we go from B flat 7 to E major chord. That's like another VI progression. And basically, I know this is getting a little technical, but all you need to take away from this is that this is how Chopin manages to link this really crazy chromatic part back to the A section so that everything seamlessly flows together without being really jarring to our ears. So the first part of the coda has echoes of the B section in its harmony and in its simplicity. The tune is pretty much the same or less. And then it also contains echoes of the A section when we have these big descending patterns over here and over here. And again, the harmony is quite similar. Let's take a quick listen to that so you can see if you can hear the similarities of the A and B sections in this first little bit of the coda, just to hear how Chopin is like nicely wrapping things up for our ears. So the coda starts off like pretty quiet and mellow, but things really quickly shift as we see this con forza, which just means with force, and then you've got this big upward leap in the right hand to the highest note of the piece yet, or, you know, at least up there somewhere, and then some big octaves in the right hand for a little bit of extra oomph. This loud section gets even louder with the fortissimo, and Chopin tugs us with this long suspended right hand octave from C flat, which is B, to B flat, and this is happening over a B flat harmony in the left hand. So this note here is so tense and it's so loud, it just like fills us with suspense. And since this is a B flat chord underneath here, and our harmony in this song, our home note is E flat, this chord here creates a sense in our gut of like, things aren't finished yet. We're still waiting for more song, which you'll hear when we listen to a clip of this. And then that brings us to this little mini cadenza here. And a cadenza is just basically like a free-form part that sounds almost improvisational. And what Chopin does here is creates a haunting effect with mainly just, I know it looks crazy because the notes are smaller, but it's mainly just the four notes over and over again. And then there's like this little descending pattern at the end. And Chopin could have made this big sweeping cadenza and made the ending really dramatic, but as you've probably come to expect, especially from this song, Chopin understates things again. He keeps everything contained. There's just a little tiny bit of drama in this cadenza, but a little is the right amount in this case. Any more would have been too decadent, and it would overwhelm the delicacy of this piece. And that is all for today's musical analysis on Chopin's very famous Nocturne. I hope you learned something, got something out of that, at least a deeper appreciation of a song maybe you already like, or maybe it just like cements your passionate hatred of Chopin. Where am I going with this? If you want to see more videos like this, just give this video a thumbs up. You can leave a comment, let me know what you think, and all that good stuff, and I will catch you guys next time. Howdy, welcome to another episode of Piano TV. I suck at acts.